right, Shaun, where are you? Can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Just
Okay,
fantastic.
great. I'm in France.
Oh, there you
My
are.
flight got canceled, but I'm here in
So,
spirit.
how many folks had travel disruptions to get here? Yeah, quite a few of you. You told me. Yeah. So Shaun had it the worst. He's stuck in France. Terrible place to get stuck. Shaun, can you eat some pastries for us, please?
I'll survive.
Yeah.
I'll survive.
All right. Good. So first off, I have to ask, Shaun, do you ever get tired of being called a three-time Olympic gold medalist?
No, I earned that one. I'm
Okay.
happy
Good.
with it.
Good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So, Shaun.
It's better than two-time fourth place.
Oh,
That's
that's the most athlete thing I've ever heard. Okay.
yeah.
Shaun, you, Granville, myself, we're all about the same age. And so when you got
Mhm.
started in your career, things were, shall we say, different. Can
Yeah.
you, for those of us who do not professionally snowboard, do we have any professional snowboarders? Yeah, okay, that's about what I thought. Could you tell us what it used to be like? Because you once told me that it really wasn't legitimate when you started out. And it wasn't your opinion, it was the opinion of others that you were describing.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes around the sport. Most mountains didn't want snowboarders around. It's just kind of the riffraff. And look, skiing has always been and will always be, a luxury sport for the wealthy. And it's just one of those things where when snowboarding came along, it was just kind of this like, unwanted thing. And it really took over so many people. And as someone that, has loved the sport from the beginning, my whole family does it. We just saw it in a different way. So for us, it was a family sport, and for others, it was like this rebellious thing. And it really finally caught on with the Olympics and X Games and other major events, and became this this massive sport. And it's ushered into a new era. And I just happened to be at the tip of the spear when that all happened. So it was amazing timing.
And it has changed dramatically. So we're here to talk about technology as it has
Yeah.
impacted what pro athletes do day in and day out. So Shaun, tell us how it changed over the course of your career. How rudimentary, shall we say, from a technology
Mhm.
perspective, was it when you started, and what is possible today as far as the tools that athletes have, the technological tools that athletes have to be at their best?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, look, when I first started, the half pipes, the facilities that we were using were hand dug with shovels. And it's come a long way from them. There was from then it was the invention of what's called the pipe cutter. It's basically a cat. The cat is what grooms the mountains, and they attach this big arm to it, and that actually like a almost like a shaved ice machine cuts the wall, the half pipe, and shapes it in the way that we can use it. And from there it's gotten bigger and bigger. I mean, the half pipes were maybe 10, 12 feet. Now they're 22-foot walls, going downhill, made out of ice. It's a really, amazing to see where it's come from. And now we're ushering this amazing new era of AI getting involved in these sports. And you see it in other sports, which is amazing. But it's never really been introduced into winter sports in the way it is today. And I'm just so excited to be talking about it.
You might be one of the few people who can truly say uphill both ways in the snow, right? Um,
Yeah, literally.
yeah, literally. Tell us a little bit more about that. Expand on that. So, what tools are
Yeah.
available to the athlete today
Mhm.
to get better? How are they using technology to improve their runs? Um, you know,
Yeah.
what do they have at their fingertips?
Exactly. So it's amazing. So right now, well, I should bring you to the beginning. I mean, we would basically rock, paper, scissors, who was going to go first for a big trick. And this is a potentially not career, hopefully not career ending, but maybe season ending trick you're about to go for. And you didn't really have any information. You just kind of like saw something that inspired you. You got with your friends. You're just going to go try it. And, either mom's there with the camcorder, or you have your buddy, who's maybe your coach, your friend trying to film you, and you look back at the footage and try to figure out what went wrong. And now we've introduced this amazing AI technology where it's really picking apart every detail of a run, and not just a current run. You can throw a run in from the past. Even my greatest runs I've done, you can take it, put it into this tool, see how fast you're going, how high you're going, the velocity of the rate of the spin, all of these incredible data points that you can then go back and look at. Oh, well, I did this run maybe, 10 times. I only landed it, two or three times. What was the difference? How fast was I going? What was my trajectory? What was my rate of spin? How long was I in the air for? And this information like really can help not only the advancements of the athletes, but it's also like bringing the fans in as well. You're getting to this point where, people, I would watch the broadcast and like, wow, that was a really big air. And you're like, please give me give me more than that. Like,
Yes. How big?
don't yeah, don't tell me the F1 car was going really fast. Like, no, they're going 200 miles an hour around the straightaway, and then they're cutting into the corner. Like, give me that information. It brings me into the experience, and now we have that introduced in our sports, and it's just gonna be amazing.
And it's very cool. I mean, you in the
Yeah,
anecdote you told about the camcorder, you'd have to finish a whole day's practice or more before you could take a
yeah,
look at that footage. And now, you can finish your run and see what happened, and then take another one, right?
yeah, and it's amazing. Or I can compare a run from years ago.
Hmm.
Taking a run where this was what the maybe the best run of my career. What
Yeah.
was the big difference between that and others? And you see it in other sports, or maybe football, especially golf. You're breaking down a swing, you're breaking down this dynamic motion happening, the contact with the ball, the trajectory of the ball, all these things. But when you take into snowboarding, I mean, it's much more complicated. I'm sure Granville can touch on it, but that's a stationary tee. Someone's just teeing off in this specific area. We're flying down the mountain over 60 miles an hour. Like I said, the half pipe wall is 22 feet tall. A great air out of that is 23 to 26 feet out. So you're really kind of capturing this whole thing happening and putting it into these data points that are just it's really baffling that we're able to do this.
Yeah, totally. And exactly. Granville, I'm coming right to you now. So,
Yeah,
we are applying artificial intelligence to virtually everything at this event, are we not? Hopefully,
yeah,
the program represents that. And, professional sports seems like a very particular
Yeah,
application. So, from Google's standpoint, tell
yeah,
us, what is a pro athlete like Shaun doing for you,
yeah.
whether that's specific to snowboarding or winter sport or just sporting in general?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we're super excited about understanding the physical world and
Yep.
using Gemini to help us really understand the world around us, but then make it super useful and put it into practice, right? So, as these snowboarders are coming down the mountain, like Sean mentioned, they used to have to hand dig
Yeah.
the half pipe. In our world, it was all manual analytics. It was decision making on the fly in business scenarios. Now, not only can we collect tremendous amounts of data, all that velocity, speed, the rotation, all that useful data for our athletes, um, but making sense of it,
Hmm.
collating it, and giving it back as really easy human level coach ups
Hmm.
in between runs in real time. And take that same principle, like certainly we're learning a lot about physical reality, 3D world models. We're actually modeling down to the hundredths of a millimeter the precision of where that athlete's skeletal structure is in order to get center of gravity data and all this stuff. That shows up in all kinds of different applications in the working world. But the coach ups, just the simple take tons of data from the real world that's coming in live, take a deep understanding of the world in which we're living in, working in, and then give us those coach ups on a real time basis. That's where we're seeing it show up every day.
Yeah, really extraordinary. And you mentioned it, business. I mean, that crossover is very important and impactful to you. Shaun, I want to come back to you.
yeah.
As you're describing all of this capability, for lack of a better
Mhm.
description, um, does it level the playing field for athletes? Does it create a new variable for them? You're now working with a host of really the next generation, aren't you, of young
Mhm.
winter sports athletes through
Yeah,
your snow league. And
yeah.
you know, how if you were in their shoes now, how would you feel?
No, look, it's amazing. Again, it is one of the things I would say that it is leveling the playing field in a way. I came from pretty humble beginnings, didn't live in the mountains, very expensive family of five to go get lift tickets, lodging, food, you name it. And you're seeing athletes there with full-time coaches. I didn't have that kind of access, but this is, really going to be accessible for everyone. And taking videos and runs that were shot from a friend or shot from whoever and put into this tool, you can really easily access it, and now you have a house for it, a home for it. I mean, and right now I have to still call friends from back 2006, like, hey, do you have that run that I had? Can you help me track that down so we can put it into this so I could decipher what this trick was doing? And And so it's amazing to see that. And I know you mentioned the Snow League, and so for everyone in the room that doesn't fully know, the Snow League was, something that I noticed being a gap in the market. There's not really um, a grand tour, professional elevated league for our sport. Like any other sport, you think of, football, basketball. There's a season you follow, and we have a really broken season, and we noticed that a lot of the events were brand operated or owned, and so Burton Snowboards had the Burton U.S. Open Tour. Mountain Dew had the Mountain Dew Tour, and these events. And trust me, they were great events at the time, amazing, but it didn't really give a lot back to the sport in the way, because almost like I describe it as if Nike owned basketball, right? And all of a sudden, they realized that their marketing dollars or their spend, it's better spent maybe in running rather than basketball. Let's just do less basketball events and do more into running, and then the sport suffers. So we created the Snow League to be that universal synergy, that tour, like any other traditional sport. And we've completely redesigned the competition format down to the uniforms that are worn. Every single detail has been taken and really brought into this new space. And I feel like, like we mentioned before, like legitimizing the sport, bringing it to that next level. And then you combine that with this new technology. And I mentioned, obviously, what it does for the athletes, being able to go over a run from the past and take multiple attempts at a trick and dissect what went wrong and what went right. But now you're introducing that to a competition series, right? And you're bringing fans in that go, wow, I can't believe that this run was that much higher than the run before. And he was spinning this fast. And look at, like, you can really see the differences between the runs, and even the same athletes runs over. Oh, this is why the score went higher. So sport like snowboarding, I mean, I could tell you I'm doing a double McTwist 1260, but that's very confusing. You don't know that's two flips with three rotations in it. You know what I mean? It's really like bringing it down and breaking it down to a palatable level for people so they can understand the sport better. So it's helping the athletes, it's helping the fans, and we haven't even touched the judging side. I think it's something where we don't want it to replace the human element because there's a style component, but I think it would definitely assist the judging component where they would be able to look at some of these data points and go, oh wow, like let me see what was comparable to the last run, and really bring people in and help their job out. So it's definitely like a nice addition to what we're doing in this new sort of way
Yeah.
we're approaching the sport.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
so interesting what you're doing. And two of your locations for the Snow League are familiar destinations for Brainstorm Tech folk, Aspen and Park City, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. We know it well. So
Yeah.
I have one more question for you, Shaun, and then I want to come to the audience. So I want to go back to the athlete's experience. You talked about fans, you talked about judging. I want to come back to the competitive athlete. If everybody has access to this technology and you're getting information for everything, right? Because you don't just need your own runs, right? Or even your own historical runs. You can compare yourself to runs, from your greatest competitors, right? Theoretically.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if
Exactly.
everybody has essentially the same information, in your opinion,
Mm,
as an athlete, where's the edge? Is it the person
mhm,
who's more physically capable? Is it the person who better interprets the information they're receiving? Is it,
mm.
you know what I mean? Like, where's your edge if the knowledge part is no longer so spotty?
No, it's a great question. And I feel like, when I really think about what makes a great athlete, there's the want, there's the drive, there's the need, there's those things. And obviously, if you're, let's say, a race car driver and you step into a car that's maybe not as well fitted or suited as your competitor, you're at a disadvantage, and that's really tough. I feel like within the sport of skiing and snowboarding, that sort of technical side of it isn't as, you know, it's not a big of a gap, maybe what different wax you're using, different board flex and shape, things like that. But I really think that this, like I mentioned before, like having a personal coach that's filming you every single day, and now you're able to access this, um, giant database of information within runs and speeds and all these things. I mean, I think it's really going to come down to the particular athlete that can use this technology the best and use it for, not only their runs, but their competitors, and really kind of work it into their, because I don't want it to, you would hate for it to replace that sort of feeling you get when you drop in and you feel the wind and you jump through the air and the timing and all these things. But like I said, almost with the judging, I think it'll really assist the athletes. But I do believe that an era of athlete is on the way where they're going to be able to look at the footage and really dissect what's happening. And I keep mentioning golf, but I watched something where it was one of the golfers was just looking at the silhouette of the person. It wasn't actually the person, but they watched the silhouette and they could tell who the person was by their swing. And I really believe that you will be able to basically look at somebody now, and Granville talked about it, their skeletal structure, because we wear big baggy clothing, we're flying through the air. You're going to be able to look at this footage and know who the athletes are because of their style and their way they do their tricks. And I just think it's going to be this thing that if you can access this and you can use it in the right way, it's going to be a tremendous advantage.
Shaun, I
So
watched
it's a
that
shift.
clip as well, and the golfer is Rory
Yeah,
McIlroy, and he got
exactly.
every
Sorry,
single silhouette correct, including some funny ones like some of the retired broadcasters. that
Charles
people.
Barkley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Charles Barkley was one of them. Like Cheers, he managed to ID Charles
we all
Barkley's
know
golf
that
swing.
swing.
Incredible. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I want to come to the audience with questions. Yes,
Please.
right over here. I'll take you right here on my left, so closer to you. Your name and who you're with.
Andy Green with Fox Talk, a student publication in Colorado. I have a question as pro sports are using more AI and data. What do you think students should learn if they want to enter pro sports but are not athletes themselves?
One more time. If they're not pro, but they have aspirations to becoming pro.
Uh, so if students who are not athletes themselves, if they want to enter to work in sports, what should they learn given the fact that pro sports are using more AI and data?
Oh, not the athletes, but all the other folks who work in this business of sports.
Correct.
Sean, now that you're a business of sports man.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, if you're an enthusiast of the sports, my brain first jumped to like, this is applicable to anyone. Obviously, if you're just learning a trick, I mean, you can put it in here, and even if you're not competing. But no, I think being able to understand the dynamics of the sport, and I think that this tool, this technology will only help people wanting to get into the broadcast, get into the coaching side of things. I mean, imagine if you're a coach and you're starting out, you love the sport, you didn't really have the skills to cut it. Now you're kind of in this industry and you want to be part of it. You can now use this technology to help your athletes, help them get to the place that they want to go. If you're a broadcaster, think of the information that you now have to talk about the sport instead of saying it's a really big air. Oh my God, they were going this fast. He spun this many degrees of rotation at this angle. It really breaks down to a lot of different places, and I feel like will only benefit the sport in the long run. Not only obviously the athletes, the fans, the people, but definitely the industry itself will, I think, use this technology and be able to communicate better and really share the sport in a better way.
Yeah, cheers. And I have a thought very briefly as you've been
Mhm.
talking, Sean. The lesson you're talking about around what differentiates an athlete. Going back to that, we've been
Yeah.
talking about all day here, right? As AI democratizes and everybody has access to the same models and the same tools, we're all trying to figure out what
Hmm.
our special sauce is in business. So it resonates. I saw a hand way in the back here, if you don't mind. Your name and who you're with. Thank you. Check, check.
Hello. Hello. Hi. My name's Christina. I'm with West Monroe. I have a 17-year-old daughter. I think many of us
Hmm.
have kids who play sports. She plays over 100 games of softball a year. And I'm just wondering, at what point is too much data that it kills the love of sport for the kids?
Mm.
Because they get kind of obsessed, and
Mm.
I've seen that happen for a lot of youth sports.
What a great question, Sean.
I was going to throw it to Granville. No, I'm kidding. No, look, I mean, again, that we're not trying to replace the human experience, and we don't obviously want to create this sort of analysis paralysis situation where you're so bogged down in the details that you don't actually get out there and do the sport. You're over analyzing. But no, I think it's really the athlete themselves. It's like when you're getting out there, I know for me, like I would get certain tips that would help and some that wouldn't. And even when I look at what we're doing here, I'm like, oh well, I don't really need to know you know um like the trajectory of the hit. I already kind of know that. You know what I mean? And there's bits and pieces that I'll take in, and then there's stuff that I'll push aside. So it's really kind of using it to your, hey, like asking a friend a tip, in a relationship or whatever. Like, what do you think? And they're gonna give you their pros and cons, and you're gonna then decipher that for yourself, what information you're taking in and what you're putting out. And I really feel like it's up to the athlete to decide on what they need and what they don't need, and what feeling they get when they're out there on the mountain or on the softball diamond. And I really think that the technology is there to assist rather than to replace. And I love to keep excuse me, read it. I can't even say it right now. I keep saying it again. I'm tongue tied. No, but I keep saying it because I really do think that nothing is going to replace that human experience. But I do know that this will offer, like we said, a level playing field. It'll give a lot of information to athletes that wouldn't have had this type of access before, and that's really the hope. And like everyone in this room knows, it's we're starting here and we're growing from here. So when we hit these points of you know um, we need to evolve, we need to change this, we need to adapt to that.
Right.
I think we're at a beautiful starting point, and where we end up, I'm sure will be very different from where we are. And I think that's amazing, though. And we're going to get information from the people using this tech, and
Yeah.
then hopefully deliver them a product that's even better every time around.
Right on. Just to bring us
Yeah.
bring us home, Granville, can you just briefly offer the business executives in the room, the technologists, the investors, one thing that they can take away that you've learned from working with athletes like Shaun?
Yeah, look, I mean, we just talked about that, passionate high schooler, that independent athlete who needs a coach up, right? Who is engaged and wants somebody to look over their game film. And as
Mhm.
business people, I think we could all use that extra opinion sometimes. And just having the coach up with the deep context on the work that we're doing, and just to come at it from an analytical perspective is a huge opportunity. So that's where we just see myriad opportunities to come in and provide that day-to-day, moment-by-moment coach-ups for each of our execs we partner with.
Wonderful. This has been an enlightening conversation. Thank you
Yep.
both for joining us at Fortune Brainstorm Tech.
Thanks for having me.